How abusive women brainwash men. This is the Experienced Optimist, and I went online and found an article from datingafter48.blogspot.com that really talks about how women control and manipulate men long term. It explains the steps that they take. So this is good information for men to know about so that they don't fall into the same traps as most other men in society. And in this article, they actually specifically talk about a certain type of men that women go for. These men are generally called simps. But let's get into this article because it's really good. How abusive women brainwash men. Okay, ever wonder how you get into a relationship that sucks the soul out of you, but yet you feel helpless to leave? An abusive woman on the search for a new mate chose you. Never think you chose her because you didn't. This is something that is important for men to remember, that most of the time, actually 100% of the time, women choose the man. The man does not choose the woman. Most women do not physically attack men, although I will admit to knowing a few who did. It shows my hillbilly roots. Abusive women employ mental games to twist reality, the same as those who brainwash people into cults. Whom do abusive women and cult recruiters want? Get this, guys. This is when they're talking about the simp. They recruit a kind, trusting, eager to please man who is smart and talented. That is the preferred target. This person gets something down off the high shelf in a grocery store for a little old lady. Qualities such as generosity and being self-reflective are good too. The desire not to hurt or offend, avoiding all conflict, will be the coffin nail that seals a man into an abusive relationship. When does the future abuser appear on the radar screen? They may have been in your vicinity for a long time. That's why they know you'll be easy. It also creates a false sense of trust. They may have witnessed you suffering through a number of abusive relationships. They may accidentally include code words. You may have accidentally included code words on your dating profile. If you stated you don't like game players, cheaters, or liars, you just told a trolling female you've been played successfully a number of times. They swear to play you better than all your previous girlfriends. They show up when you're vulnerable. It could be a recent breakup, a death in the family, or a death of a pet, a job loss, or a new job. Anytime you exhibit weakness, they show up. Cults find great success with kids going off to college or new arrivals in town. First, it starts with the love bombing. And they're going to go on and talk about love bombing. But this is something I want to talk about briefly. When women first meet a guy, as a lot of YouTube creators have talked about and what I've experienced as well, they'll fuck your brains out. They'll be nice to you. They'll charm you, which, like I said before, women charm, but they don't love. But it feels like love. You know, they talk you up. They tell you how cool you are, how handsome you are. They tell you how debonair you are, and they just play on your ego. And then once they run that game on you, you're thinking, man, I'm the best thing that this girl has ever come across, and you get sucked into that. That's equivalent to a love bombing, but we're going to talk about it right now. Cult members canvass colleges, loiter near bus or train stations to spot the clueless individuals. They really do give assistance, from carrying the target's bags to introducing them to more cult members. They invite the target to lunch, to the movies, and to meet more of the cult friends. This relationship goes on for weeks. This is the love bombing time. The cult members create a need for their company, just like women do. To be successful, they have to cut off all the other influences or contacts, just like how women always try to cut you off from your hobbies and your friends. Keep the target busy every night with cult members. They discourage contact with others with subtle or disingenuous comments, hinting that those other folks at campus might be harmful. Now we're going to talk about the techniques that the women use. The abusive woman uses the same technique. She plays to the man's ego, telling him she has to be near him all the time. Anxious for companionship and a self-esteem boost, he accepts her constant attention without question. She is only checking out the perimeters to see what she needs to be tightened. While she's assuring him she's the one for him, she's also prying into his life. What group of people does he interact with that might discourage their relationship? His family, friends, co-workers, or is there a troublesome ex that she needs to shield him from? During this honeymoon period, she plants the seed. Why do you need to hang out with all those guys? When you do, it makes me sad and lonely. Not only is the man vulnerable, he's also in a less dazed stupor. Even though he's only known her for weeks, she begins to question his children's visits as a sign he doesn't love her. What she really wants to do is put a stop to anything that takes the focus off of her. She subtly criticizes his family and co-workers, negating their credibility. Suddenly the man finds himself isolated from everyone in his world. How many times has that happened to you men? Even when he is at work, she calls, emails, or constantly texts, exercising her control over her. Now, this is a good example right here because I know a guy who he used to go over to Thailand all the time, and he met all sorts of beautiful Thai girls. And then he ended up with a woman that had a kid, and the kid was crazy. You know, she was a single mother, obviously. And he married her, and next thing you know, every time I see the dude, he always calls and talks to this girl at a particular time, and he's always checking in with her. I mean, she basically has a guy wrapped around his finger. It's sad to see. All right. If he thought for a moment to think outside the box, she recalls him with ties of obligation, guilt, or even fear. This woman plays her man expertly. Whenever he dares to question the nature of their relationship, she dissolves into tears. How many times have we seen that? Claims God or fate brought them together. Threatens to leave while giving a dire scenario that has been that has her begging for bread in the street, then threatens him with he'll never meet another woman as good as her because he's a loser. How many times have we seen that too? When you get with a woman, you're the greatest thing ever, and then when she wants to control you, all of a sudden that you're a loser, all of a sudden you don't make enough money, all of a sudden you're not smart enough. She managed to change the subject while delving into her dependency issues, his gullibility, and his search for a higher purpose. Maybe he is supposed to support this woman and her children at the expense of his own life and livelihood. That would make him a regular saint. The woman has now accomplished 4 of 6 steps of brainwashing. Some men might argue that the new girlfriend or wife had moments when she's nice, surprising him with gifts, dinner, or sex. Of course she does. Abusive husbands do the same thing, as do cults when they see a member begin to doubt or start to pull away. This system of awards and punishments changes over time to be much less reward and much more punishment. How many times have we seen that? Where the woman starts off great, then all of a sudden she's withholding sex from you. She's withholding affection and love from you, right? She tells you that she's too busy to do the things that you want to do, but she's never too busy to do the things that she wants to do. This is just like the other video I made, women are the shady friends in every relationships. This basically explaining just that. Okay. Often the abusive wife never delivers on the reward. She only offers the promise of it, which seems to work. The last step of brainwashing is a verbal mind game worthy of Joseph Goebbels, a henchman in the Nazi regime. He based the whole fascist message on repeating lies long enough that people began to believe it was the truth. The abusive wife will say how mean you are. She'll tell you how much she does for you. Eventually, you begin to believe it. When she says something, that's it. You're not allowed to dispute it. Eventually, a non-confrontational man gives in. A confrontational man would help the woman. A confrontational man would help the woman out of the house the first time he suspected something awry. That's why she never wanted one of those. Okay, this is good right here, because that's true. Women always look for a man that they control. And when I was younger, I didn't believe this at all, because I would see women with alpha men, I would see women with military men, I would see women with these strong men. But just because a person may appear strong doesn't mean that a woman can't control them. And that's what women do. Women look for men that they can control. There's a guy that I work with, and he's a reformed bad boy, essentially. And this guy, I was talking to him, he was like, yeah, I'll die for my wife. You know, I'll die for my wife and kids, my family. Now, I understand dying for your kids, but dying for your wife, I'm not too sure about, because most women won't die for you. And he's like, yeah, I do this, I do that. And it's so obvious that this woman views him as just a person, a caretaker, basically, a slave, really. But he is not wise about it at all. I remember I brought up some red pill knowledge to him, and I said that I said that women initiate divorce most of the time, and he was like, no, that's not true. The news and these statistics, they're probably not true. Basically, he was just trying to feel better about his situation, that he was in a marriage where she controlled him. He just didn't want to. He didn't want to own up to what was happening to him, basically. And it was kind of sad to see. I mean, this guy rode motorcycles. He was a bad boy. He was a party animal back in the day. And this woman saw that she could control him. And basically, that's what happened over time. All right, the last paragraph. You might be living in a fog. Do you spend time with anyone else besides a woman or her friends or relatives? That's a key thing, too. Women, when they get a man under control, they replace her friends with simp friends. Generally other men who are being controlled by their wives. And relatives, her relatives, because her relatives will always back her up most of the time. Keep in mind, they are all in her cult. Going to church doesn't count either. Often she'll use religion to get you to jump through her hoops. Do you ever do anything that you want to do? Does she ask what your dreams and how she can make them happen? Do you see any of your old friends with or without her? Do you pursue hobbies you like on your own? If the answer is no to any of these questions, it's a real possibility you're in a fog. If your answer no to all of them, get out fast. That makes a lot of sense. The church thing, that's actually really good, because I've noticed that about religion as well. Sometimes you have a strong man who won't take any shit from anybody, so the woman will get him involved in church. And I noticed that church nowadays, especially, is really, it's basically a feminist haven, and there's a lot of reformed whores in church now, which they still act that way, but they try to keep it under wraps under church. And a lot of manipulative practices go on in church. So you can take a strong man who would stand up to his wife, he'll get in the church, and then since the pastor wants to cater to women, he'll tell the man to buckle, and a man should provide this for his wife and do this for his wife. And then the man ultimately will become a slave of his wife because the church pastor tells him to. And that's why a lot of men are opting out of going to church nowadays, because it's no longer about the woman submitting to the wife. I mean, the woman submitting to the husband, like it says in the Bible. It's about the man submitting to the woman. And we all know how that goes. It doesn't work out good for either party. But if you like this video, give a thumbs up, like, subscribe, hit the notification button, share with your friends. Make sure that more men know about MGTOW, because it's all about helping men out, man. Men are going through it, and this is men of all races. Black, white, yellow, it doesn't really matter, because men are just falling for the same trap year after year, day after day. But if you like this video, like, subscribe, hit the notification button, and I'll talk to you later.